name is Chandni Fokeer and I am the Head of Paid and Partnerships here at Digital Voices. So before I get our panellists up, just a little bit about myself. I look after two parts of the business here at DV. Can you hear me? The first is paid social department, so I head up our paid social team. We have over 15 years of combined experience specialising in supporting brands and clients activating paid social influencer. And then the second part to my role is working with our CEO, Jenny, to look after the partnerships division. So that is making sure that we partner with brands such as, or platforms such as Google, Meta, TikTok, making sure that you guys as clients get the best incentives, alphas and betas. So I am going to get our panellists up on stage. If that's okay. Fab. So whilst everyone gets a little bit settled, I will give you a bit of an introduction about what we will be speaking about today on the panel. We're going to be covering YouTube's evolving role in the creator economy. We'll be touching a little bit on community and kind of how that supports brands and creators grow. And we'll also be looking at the sequential content and growth of YouTube. So before we dive into all of that, I would love to introduce you to our amazing panelists today. I'm going to ask you guys to say your name and your role. I will start with you, Rachel.
Hi Rachel, thank you for your name, sorry. That was great. And I'm the media manager at Colgate.
Oh, hey, I'm Jack, and I make content across platforms, but specifically BookTok, BookTube, so people call me the internet's resident librarian.
I don't have a mic actually. Oh, thank you. Hi, I'm Nish. I'm the creative business lead at YouTube. I work in creative works, as Chandni said, and we're really happy to be here.
Hi everyone, I'm Alex and I'm Carwell's global creative lead.
Fab, thank you. Lovely to meet you all. So I am going to touch a little bit and kick off on a very interesting question, which is why does YouTube deserve a seat at all brands' influencer plans for 2025? And I'm actually going to start with Nish, if that's okay. I would like to ask what makes YouTube the platform where creators and brands can build something lasting?
Yeah, great question, and one we've had quite a few times from customers generally. So as a platform, we know that our audiences spend a long time on YouTube. So in the UK, around 72 minutes is spent a day on the platform, which is huge, right? And so that gives you an indication of the depth of content that is on there, from long form to shorts, and of course kind of all the organic and paid around it as well. And specifically when you look at shorts, you know that we know that actually 42% of people that are on shorts are not on TikTok. That's huge. That's a huge thing to think about because that's a really unique audience as well. So we know that not only there is a unique reach there and a mass reach as well, but there's also that idea of discoverability on the platform, but also that intent-driven consumption as well. People are going there to actively watch something that they want to, as well as discovering new things as well.
Thank you. And I think that leads me really nicely on to asking one of our brands, so Colgate, on the panel today. What actually made you choose YouTube as part of your influencer mix, and what kind of results have you seen to kind of support growth for your brand?
So YouTube is a really trusted channel for Colgate from a video perspective. We use it to drive reach to our kind of big Colgate toothpaste brand campaigns. So it made sense for us to trust YouTube running influencers on the channel. So we ran branded creator ads for the first time last year, and we saw exceptional results where we saw double the ROI versus our traditional sort of 6-second, 15-second toothpaste ads on YouTube. And the ROI of our influencer branded ads also were higher on YouTube versus running on channels such as TikTok and Meta.
And was that branded as well as shorts and integrations, or?
Yes, we've been testing it all. So we ran branded, we ran on shorts for the first time. We do a lot with connected TV as well, so true view, all the different formats. So overall, it performed exceptionally well.
Amazing. I love those stats. And Alex, from a Carwow perspective, what success have you guys seen most recently on YouTube? I know you guys are starting out kind of brand partnerships and testing the platform itself.
Yeah, Carwow is in quite a unique position, really, because not only do we advertise on YouTube, but it's actually advertising for our own business on our own YouTube channel. So we have 16 million subscribers across our various YouTube channels, and we advertise our own product on those channels. So every single video on Carwow's YouTube channel is essentially an advert for our core business, which is helping consumers buy and sell cars. And we've been doing that for the past 8 years. Every single video is an ad for our own core business. So it tells you that it works, the fact we've been doing it for 8 years. But what we've also started doing recently is now opening up our YouTube channel to brand partnerships. So for the very first time in 10 years since launching our channel, we are now advertising a service called Car Vertical, which is our first brand partnership. And the reason why we're doing that is YouTube is a platform where people are accustomed to seeing ads. Gone are the days of someone seeing an ad and turning off from a video. They may skip through, but they've seen what the brand is. So that's why we've now moved into advertising on YouTube.
Amazing. And then lastly, Jack. So Jack is our creator today on the panel. Jack, I would love to ask, I know you've been on YouTube for almost a decade now, and what keeps you and your audience coming back, essentially?
I think community. I think that's the buzzword right now. I think that people are moving away from creators as individuals and more towards communities. I kind of feel like it's the age of the unfollow and the unsubscribe. I think that, especially in COVID, I don't know about you guys, I was like following everyone I saw, like, please entertain me, I've got nothing else to do. And now I think we're in a stage in the creator economy where it is a little oversaturated. There are so many accounts. And when it does feel like lots of people are trying to sell things to you, it's like, okay, which communities do I actually want to be engaged with and a part of? And when you're looking at accounts to unfollow, the one that you're not going to unfollow is the one that would mean you were not just unsubscribing from a person, but unsubscribing from an entire community and a safe space. And so I think for creators, building a community is the #1 priority right now. Luckily for me, with books, it's something that, you know, a lot of people do in isolation, but look for book clubs and look for community in those spaces. So I think that that's kind of what has kept me coming back, in that I love the symbiotic relationship I have with my audience. But for me, it's really been about creating bespoke content for each different platform. So for YouTube, you know, long form, I think, is still such an exciting prospect and something that is still so integral to my business model, but also my creative output.
You mentioned audience. I actually wanted to ask, compared to other social platforms, what's your connection like with your YouTube audience?
I think that a YouTube audience choose you, and, you know, the subscription box model means that they actually are seeing every piece of content that you put out. With short form, I think sometimes it can feel like a bit of a stab in the dark, like, I hope someone sees this, maybe they will, maybe they won't, maybe this will reach a completely new audience, you kind of never know. With YouTube, I feel like there's the consistent group of people who tune in week on week, they know me. I feel like when I talk to my TikTok or Instagram audience, I often kind of introduce what I do, and I have to explain who I am and why I'm qualified to share this. On YouTube, I sort of feel like they know me, they know what to expect, and so that relationship is so tight, which I also think leads into branding opportunities, because when I recommend a brand on YouTube, my audience know that I truly believe in it because they know me, and so they know when something aligns with me. And often I find that if I'm working with a brand that is so closely aligned to me, my audience are really happy for me and they're really buzzing for me, and they're like, yeah, get the bag, you know, like, we want your content to be supported because it means that we get more of it. And the brands that I work with have changed my life. They've meant that I get to do this as my full-time job now, and so I'm so grateful to those brands, and I think that the community are grateful to the brands too, because it means that they get more of what they enjoy.
Amazing, thank you. I think that takes us really nicely onto the second part of today's panel, and that is content opportunities on YouTube. There are a load of different formats, which I'm sure some of you are aware of on YouTube. We've got branded partnerships, there's shorts, also integrations, but one of my favorites, and Nish also knows this, is creator paid ads. I absolutely love the format. For those of you that don't know, creator paid ads is essentially best practice social assets that are commissioned for the platform, and in particular the placement that you choose. So we're not going to take a TV advert and run it as a social advert. We are going to commission a social advert to run on a short or TrueView, so on and so forth. So, Nish, in 2025, I recently saw that 68% of the YouTube audience in the UK will be watching CTV, so connected TV. With more people watching connected TV, how should brands be thinking about the viewing experience?
Yeah, really great question. And actually, connected TV for us is huge, and it's only growing. And so it's bringing that experience and that idea of community and engagement to people's living rooms and kind of watching it on the big screen. And what we kind of tend to say is like make sure that, and like you said, even though it is on the big screen, we're not taking your TV ad and putting it on there. We're kind of commissioning kind of new content, fit for platform content that is on the big screen, and because of that, it's even more important to follow kind of some of the best practices that we talk about. So things like attention, branding, and obviously that connection, but also really importantly, making sure you're telling them where you want them to go. So having that really clear call to action, and being super engaging in that as well. One of the most surprising and interesting things that we've learned recently is the increase of people watching shorts on CTV. So actually, and I actually do it myself personally, and it's a great viewing experience, but it's not, and it's something that's actually taken us slightly by surprise in terms of how people are kind of watching social on the big screen, and that really showcases the importance of making sure it is fit for platform, because you want to remain familiar to the kind of formats of the audience, and you know, kind of to really engage them and entice them.
So you mentioned there attention, branding, connection, and kind of direction. I'm guessing you're saying every client and brand should have the ABCD framework in their brief to create.
I didn't want to say it, but you said it for me. Yeah, I say it too many times a day, but or not enough maybe. But yeah, absolutely. So absolutely always following the framework, and what we say is that, you know, ads that are fit for YouTube and for digital work on the big screen too. So it's like the trend is going the other way, where people are building for the platform first and seeing how that works on a bigger screen, and we definitely see that from results that works.
Amazing. Well, us at Digital Voices, we love the ABCD framework. So that takes me on to asking Rachel, how does Colgate typically approach partnerships? Do you lean more towards integrations, or do you look at more organic kind of relationships with the creators themselves?
Great question. It's something we're very much on a journey with. We've had a lot of wins and losses, or learns, I would say, with this. So we always look for that audience and brand fit first. Colgate are probably quite a risk-averse brand in terms of who we work with. I mean, we want to access, you talked about community, like that's what we want to be accessing. What we've learned works best is when that's done in a really authentic way for the creator, and it makes sense for the brand to be there as well, and that's where we've seen it be most successful. We've also seen that it's worked a lot better when we approach it like working really closely with the creator in a really authentic way to start. So I can give maybe an example of maybe not a fail, but it didn't do as well. We worked with Chicken Shop Days, and we went straight in with a sponsorship. It wasn't quite the right fit. It wasn't actually the right assets weren't running. Didn't like connect with her community or with actually the content. It was very like health and beauty content before the chicken shop content started. It just didn't work. But where we've worked with an influencer longer term, we've maybe started working in like an environment like a podcast, and then built that out, and then we've used them in the paid creator ads. We've had that long-term relationship. That's what's worked best for Colgate. So we've tried very many different models, but doing it authentically with the creator is what works best.
Amazing. I love the test and scale approach, like starting with a creator on a podcast and then moving it over to paid and then eventually doing integrations. I think that's a great way to do it. So moving on to Alex, what format has surprised you most in terms of performance or even audience reaction?
Within YouTube, or can I deviate out of YouTube?
Within YouTube, please.
Long form. Long form without a doubt. And I think Jack was articulating really well earlier around building a community and having trust. I think when you get to know your audience and your audience get to know you within YouTube, and they get to know you on a much deeper level than just through Instagram. Instagram is like a poster. You walk past a poster in the street, whereas YouTube is like you're watching a documentary on someone. And then that builds further trust, and your audience are more likely to convert based off that trust. But you also get to tell a story as to why you're using that product. We came across a really good example of how not to run a campaign recently, and it was a YouTube campaign. And it was an agency had reached out to kind of a scattergun, reach out to a load of different creators, and the fit was terrible for these creators. And what happened was the creators were so turned off by this email that they started posting on their Instagram story like, not interested in working with this brand, like they're buying views, they're buying opinions. And it got to the point where one of the creators actually made a full-blown YouTube video just based off this reach out email he'd received. And then when the campaign did go live, everyone had seen that YouTube video first, so they go straight to the comment section of the people who had taken the campaign, and they're just being completely roasted in the comments. So to your point earlier around working with the right people, not just working with the right people, but finding the people who have the right relationships with the people. So it's like a soft entry into, not just a cold email that someone could take the wrong way, but it comes from a person that they know, and they know why this campaign could work for them.
Thank you. And thank you for sharing the example of something that's not so great, both Rachel and Alex. Thank you. I think that leads me nicely on to Jack. So we've heard... Not in that way. No. Don't make it like that. We've heard some examples of how brands have worked with creators and they've not necessarily delivered. What's your ideal partnership look like with a brand so that you can deliver the best results, but also your audience are happy as well?
Yeah, I would say there's like two ways of going about it. One would be meet the creator where they already are. So if the creator is doing a series, how can we amplify that series? I was doing a series of books from every country in the world, and Lingoda, who are a language learning platform, jumped on, and they were like, can we sponsor the video when you do South America? Because people can learn Spanish on our platform. And that just felt like such a nice link. I was talking about translated books that have been translated from Spanish, talking about how I would like to eventually one day be able to read one in Spanish by learning Spanish, etc. So that was really nice because it amplified what I was already doing. But then I guess the other way to go about it, because not every campaign is going to fit as easily as that, is to work with the creator by saying, here are our ideas, here's the message of the campaign, here's the story we want to tell, and then trusting that the creator loves to create things and is going to be creatively inspired by that brief and can go away and think of, okay, which concepts have I been thinking about that could slot into this? And I have to convince a lot of people a lot of the time that a book video will make sense when it comes to their brand, but often there is a way of finding that connection and that link. So yeah, I would just say to trust the creator and their storytelling, and that they know how we do it all day, every day, working out what will make an audience continue to watch. And so I would just say trust that the creator knows how many bullet points should be included in the storytelling. You know, if it feels like you're reading out a list, immediately, I mean, as a viewer, that's when I'm going to start to skip. If it feels like interesting storytelling even within the brand deal, then I'm going to watch because it's more content. But then also, just on a practical level, I love, nothing gets me going like a good set of assets, you know, high quality assets, you know, that's just on a creative level, that's so helpful. When I have overlays sent by the brand, high quality logos, I'm not having to Google the logo with a transparent background and then I get an email back saying, hey, so we actually changed the color of that logo last year, you know, and it's like these two shades of green look exactly the same to me. But I understand for the brand that's so important. So having, you know, a Google Drive with all of the stuff that I need to create and that my editor needs to execute it, just makes a lot of difference. And I know that Digital Voices have championed that. So I'm always very grateful for that.
Thank you. Talking about creation, though, I just wanted to ask, how do you balance branded content versus what your audience want to see?
Yeah, I think that, speaking about YouTube, I would say this anyway, even if this wasn't a YouTube panel, but YouTube does feel like the best way of doing that because the audience are clicking on a video that they want to watch anyway, and then the ad is integrated within the video. So you are meeting that audience where they are, because this is something that they want to consume anyway. Whereas I suppose with short form, you're having to create probably a unique piece of content that is very brand heavy. So I guess, yeah, I would just say the storytelling is the most important part for me, is how can I make this still an interesting part of the video that you would want to watch, regardless of the fact that there's now a brand attached to it. And yeah, we can just elevate that thing.
Thank you. There's been the word community thrown around quite a lot this morning, and I guess that takes us really nicely onto section 3, which is all around community building and how YouTube supports that build of a community and creation of kind of that authentic community. I'm going to pivot back to Jack. You've built a really engaged community on YouTube. What do you think YouTube enables that other platforms just can't really offer?
I think that the comment section is very engaged. I find that often my viewers I kind of give them some talking points, and then they go ahead and have there's all these threads and conversations, and that means that the video sort of lives on beyond the original thing that I made, which is really nice. And that's why it does feel like a community to me, because the audience are having then conversations with each other. I actually really use the community tab on YouTube, which I think is a really underrated part of YouTube, that I use to share things across platforms. I also have 2 YouTube channels. So I have a second channel, which is much more candid, which I made for myself just to be able to take risks and try new things. And so I am able to kind of cross-promote my 2 channels to my audience. So that's really helpful. And I also find that when I hosted the midnight release of the new Hunger Games book, I was fanboying the entire time. I was like trying really hard to play it cool. But actually using the community tab, that was the only place I really posted about it. And the brand who hosted that event said they saw the biggest increase in ticket sales in the hour after I posted it on my community tab, just by posting like the little poster, the screenshot, and saying how excited I was. Because like I said, the audience know me, and they know I've been talking about how I think the Hunger Games is a modern classic for the longest time. It doesn't matter how many times people on Twitter try and take the mick out of me for saying that. I think the Hunger Games is an iconic book and changed the lexicon. So the fact that I was then hosting the midnight release, my YouTube audience specifically, because they know how much I love that book, they showed up in real life, and that was so cool. I was like, oh my God, you're not just a username, you're people. And that was really exciting to me. So yeah, I utilized the community tab more.
Amazing. I love the Hunger Games. So good.
But can I just say one thing?
Yeah.
I guess like factoring that in terms of, if you are hosting an event with a creator, maybe that is a place that additional spend can go by asking that creator to post on the community tab. That is something that could be a brandable opportunity. So, yeah. I'm
going to deviate slightly. Nish, would you mind just expanding a little bit for some of the clients and brands in the room that aren't really familiar or aware what exactly the community tab is?
Yeah, so it's not, from a paid perspective, it's not something we obviously do much of, but we talk about kind of community and fandom, and I think it's where kind of communities and specific niches. So you talked about Hunger Games, and you talked about that kind of fan fiction stuff. It's where they can come together and be able to talk about that kind of stuff. And we especially see it in topics such as sports, which is huge from a community perspective, and where brands are able to sort of integrate with partners on kind of specific topics, and even do kind of first to view or first to talk about in those kind of sections. So yeah, we do kind of see huge importance in that kind of community tab, and as part of kind of driving the whole ecosystem of the platform as well. Just to deviate slightly from the community aspect though, but no, still remaining within community, I think we talk about fandom a lot on the platform, and I think that intrinsically links to community, and we talk about how brands can really take hold of that idea of fandom and kind of look at the platform as a whole, and not just in those kind of niches that we talk about, but also on the wider aspects. So when we kind of saw all the Kendrick Lamar Super Bowl stuff that came out, you kind of saw the fans and the fandom and the communities come together, but also people outside of that who wanted to watch the remixes, the reactions, the people talking about the video, people talking about the reactions to the video. And I think that's where that kind of community and fandom is built. It's incredibly powerful and incredibly strong, and definitely something I think should be at the heartland of what you do as a brand on the platform.
Thank you. So just pulling it back slightly, back to kind of relationships and sort of content on the platform. Rachel, have you seen more meaningful results when forming kind of long-term relationships with creators rather than sporadic one-offs?
Absolutely, yes, 100%. I think I talked about the chicken shop example before. That was like a really short-term sponsorship, which didn't have that authentic feel. It wasn't quite the right fit. But we've built those longer term relationships with influencers. So one of our core brands is Sanex, and we've built some really nice relationships over a couple of years with those influencers. We've then managed to work with them to understand how to engage their community. So where they've got opportunities or events coming up, we'll work with them and make sure the brand is fitting in the way that makes sense, that's comfortable for both Colgate and for the creator. So 100% long term.
Amazing. And Alex, what tactics have CarWow done to kind of help genuinely engage within a creator community?
The first one is detecting who is there just to secure the short-term bag. So I've dabbled in influencer stuff in the past, and I've had campaigns come in, and I've I don't care about that brand, know nothing about them, but the pay's good, so I'll do it. And inevitably, they don't want to work with you again because the results are terrible. So avoiding that and having real conversations with people, not just an email, get them on a Google call, get them on a phone call, explain what you're trying to achieve. And the ambition should be that that person, off the back of that one campaign, almost becomes a mini brand ambassador. And then, as Jack said, you can then start using them at offline events on presenting and build your community around that. So I'd say that has been the number one thing for us. We heavily vet people and make sure that they are creating something that they truly believe in, and they are not just pushing something out just to get the invoice through at the end of the day.
Amazing. And then I guess this leads me on to my last question of the panel. Nish, what is on the horizon for YouTube when it comes to helping brands and creators connect and dive even deeper into YouTube?
Yeah, great question. So I think you covered some of it earlier when you talked about kind of the scale of what we have available. So we've got all the way from, as Rachel said, creator takeovers. So brands being able to roadblock a creator's channel over a certain period of time, all the way through to partnership ads. So integrating brands in ads, either organic or being able to boost some of the existing content that they see on the platform as well. And finally, all the way to creator paid ads. So commissioning ads with brands and creators together. So there's kind of such a variety of things you can do on the platform with creators and brands, and that's only growing, and kind of our services as well. So yeah, that's kind of what's going on at the moment, and super exciting to see a lot of that come to fruition.
Amazing, thank you. So I'm going to I think we've got 5 minutes, 10 minutes to open up the floor to any questions.
This might be a painful one to answer, but I'm curious about the learnings from the chicken shop day and how you action those internally. When a campaign doesn't go to plan, how do you, as a team, I suppose, learn from that and inform your next campaigns?
Great question. Yes, a tricky one. We try to learn fast and fail fast too. What I would say is sometimes all those learnings take a wee while. So there were some positives from it, but I think we saw a lot of the other activity we're doing with creators on YouTube has performed better than that particular sponsorship. We acknowledge that that wasn't quite the right fit. We do love the ABCDs, we did follow them, but actually we had a different influencer running in the ad before Chicken Shop, who was a health and beauty influencer, and just the fit wasn't quite right, so that was a huge learning for us. So we very much took that away and was like, okay, that creative fit beforehand and the content like needs to be spot on to make that work. So I'd probably say that was a huge learning for us that we immediately have applied to our next campaigns for Colgate. Does that answer your question?
Any others? Yeah.
I got one for Jack. So you were saying that if you used an example where a brand jumped on halfway through a series that you were doing and had a perfect fit.
Yeah.
How can brands more easily find out about these things before they happen, right? If you are thinking of doing a series, is there a way that we can find out about that before it even starts?
Yeah, I think, I love when I have constant communication with a brand and we can be talking about what's coming up and then where they can kind of fit in. It also is really reassuring as a creator when a brand is investing in you and is committing to future collaboration. That actually, I think that makes me feel even more excited to work with a brand because sometimes, you do a campaign and then you just never hear from the brand ever again. And you're like, did I do a good job? Did I do okay? And then maybe, a year later they slide back in, they were like, we loved working with you last time. I'm like, I wish you'd said this to me last year so I knew that, I could expect to work with you again. Because often it's really exciting to work with your dream brands. And that can be in the form of commenting on the content, resharing the content, so that it actually feels like a proper collaboration, when you are working together. And yeah, the promise of future work is always really exciting. Oh, we would love to work with you again. It's just reassuring. And I do think that then my lovely manager Beth is here, but we often talk about projects that I have coming up, and then we think about, which brand could fit into this, and sometimes we'll then do active outreach. Lingoda is a brand that we have also actively reached out to because we know that they're willing to listen to concepts and see where they could fit in. So it does mean that when I'm making content, sometimes I think, this brand who I've worked with before would fit so perfectly in this piece of content. And like I said, that just feels like a collaboration rather than I'm like a human billboard, which is the best way to do it, I think.
Right, thank you.
Any others? Yeah.
For the brands on the panel, obviously you said that sort of vetting the creator to make sure they're perfect for your brand and the line and everything is the best way to go. Have you ever experimented with a creator outside your direct vertical that's worked really well just because they're, for example, Colgate, if you worked with someone that always talks about personal care, Colgate may get lost in that story. So Alex and Rachel, have you got any examples of the other verticals working well?
Yeah, definitely. So Carwow is a platform for users to buy and sell their cars, and we have worked with influencers from every different niche. The one most recently that I think did really well was we worked with a running influencer. So on the face of it, you're like, they don't really produce car content, but then neither do the people who buy and sell cars. So you need to tell the right message, and they had the particular person we worked with. I guess it kind of goes back to the previous question a little bit. They were on a really, really upward trajectory, and I'd followed them for a while, and it was, everyone kind of gets into the algorithm at different times. This was this person's time, and everything they posted was flying. And we worked with them at that particular time. So whilst the video wasn't running content, it was an ad for a car, but it was like a small, cute car. It kind of worked. The content absolutely flew. And I don't know whether it's we just worked with that person at the right time because we had our ears to the ground and we knew that she was really doing very well, or whether it was the messaging was right. And sometimes you don't really know. I guess that's an example of working way outside of our vertical and an ad campaign going really well.
Yes, we have. We worked with a major influencer who, I don't know if I should say that, but she was in the Saturday. You probably wouldn't say that's a natural relationship with toothpaste at all, but actually we found a really nice link working with her that really felt authentic for her to talk about how she used toothpaste and bring her personal stories to life, and that actually worked incredibly well. I would say I'm really sorry it did not run on YouTube, but we work with her again with Bridge But yeah, I would say that we just want to make sure that while she's not infamous for toothpaste, but we just need to make sure that link and why she was talking about it makes sense.
Fab. If you guys do have any other questions or would like to grab any of the panelists, please hang around after. There'll be a little networking event. I would like to thank you all for joining us on the first panel this morning. Thank you so much. And we are going to transition to the measurement panel now. Thank you.